Shiono Kimbaloi on Mike On Podcast.
I'm sure
on Twitter Spaces, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and Instagram Live at the Mike On Podcast.
This has been the focus of our conversation on this podcast today.
Joining the conversation is so easy with Shiono Kimbaloi on Mike On Podcast.
I'm sure
on Twitter Spaces, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and Instagram Live at the Mike On Podcast.
This has been the focus of our conversation on this podcast today.
Joining the conversation is so easy with Shiono Kimbaloi on Mike On Podcast.
I'm sure
on Twitter Spaces, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and Instagram Live at the Mike On Podcast.
This has been the focus of our conversation on this podcast today.
Joining the conversation is so easy with Shiono Kimbaloi on Mike On Podcast.
I'm sure
on Twitter Spaces, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and Instagram Live at the Mike On Podcast.
This has been the focus of our conversation on this podcast today.
Joining the conversation is so easy with Shiono Kimbaloi on Mike On Podcast.
I'm sure
In this edition of the Mike On Podcast.
In recent times, a lot has happened in the Nigerian political space. Last year, in what could be seen as a dramatic turn of events, some ministerial nominees of President Tinubu were rejected by the Senate. One of the nominees whose hope of becoming a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria was thwarted is Stella Okotete. Shiono Kimbaloi hosts her on a no-holds-barred conversation on the Mike On Podcast today.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mike On Podcast. I'm your host, Shiono Kimbaloi. Today's topic and guests have topped news bulletins and sparked widespread intrigues across Nigeria's political landscape, but many are still in the dark as to what really played out. You all remember Miss Stella Okotete, right? Yeah. Okay. When Stella Okotete, a prominent figure within Nigeria's ruling party, APC, was nominated as a minister, expectations were high. Her credentials, demeanor, and performance during the ministerial screening process seemed to leave no doubt about her capabilities. However, in a turn of events, her nomination was rejected by the National Assembly. But let's rewind a bit. In August of 2023, during the screening process, the Senate withheld ministerial confirmation for 3 nominees, citing the need for, quote, security clearance. These nominees were former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai, Senator Abubakar Danladi from Taraba State, and Stella Okotete from Delta State, a former women leader of the APC and executive director at the Nexen Bank, who is from Delta State. Since then, Stella Okotete has largely remained out of the public eye. Today, in this exclusive interview, she joins me to shed light on the politics, people, and factors behind our ministerial rejection. She also speaks on our political ambition and the renewed hope agenda of the current administration. This interview reveals that there are cracks and scars to settle amongst Nigeria's ruling class. So, is Stella Okotete mending our wounds, or has she put the entire episode behind her? There is only one way to find out. Watch. I have joining me the Executive Director of the Nigeria Export Import by the Nexen Bank. Thank you so much indeed for joining us, Ms. Stella Okotete.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
For having me.
It's good to see you. It's been a long time since your aborted ministerial confirmation, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been, but we've been there and we're doing our work at Nexen, so it wasn't a complete loss for the government and the people of Nigeria. I'm still, like you said, and introduced me, I'm still the executive director of the Nigerian Export and Import Bank. And hopefully I'm using that platform to serve Nigeria. It's all about service, not about the title.
Interesting. It was being reported that you failed security clearance during your nomination.
That's not true. I'm not aware of that. I only heard that from the Senate President. To the best of my knowledge, I'm not under investigation by any of the security apparatus of government of the country.
Were you interviewed by the DSS?
Yes, I went to the DSS. I've met them. I did my interviews with them. I'm sure, logically speaking, if I'm a security threat or I have security issues, I won't still be the ED of Nexen Bank.
What about all of the other anti-graft agency? Are you under scrutiny from the EFCC?
Not that I'm aware of. I'm only aware that prior to my nomination, I had a group of lawyers who obviously came out for reasons best known to them to discredit my person and my image, as well as it's typical, it's politics, just to discredit me and maybe stop my ministerial confirmation, which I'm sure they succeeded in doing. But that didn't stop me from serving, and I'm still serving the government, I'm still serving Nigerians. They first came up with the stories that I didn't graduate from school.
Did you?
I did. I graduated from Benton Idalsa University as my first degree. I had a diploma prior to that from the River State College of Arts and Science, a diploma in law. I have a master's from the Open University. I'm doing a master's in business administration from the University of Abuja Business School. I have an advanced management and leadership certificate from the Oxford University Side Business School. I've attended Columbia Business School. I've also attended quite a few other business institutions. And I'm sure such institutions will not have me on any of their programs if they had not done their background search. So after the entire Senate's exercise, because I presented to the Senate my entire certificates, I had to write to the schools through my lawyers to confirm the status of the certificate that was presented to me. When I mean my schools, all the schools. And I got responses from them. They confirmed all the certificates had submitted. So there was nothing like that. When they saw that they couldn't hold water with such accusation, they came up to say, oh, I didn't do my NYSC and all of that. Luckily, I used to be very big. I worked on my weight and all of that. In terms of rebranding my image, I had to lose some weight. So I had my NYSC pictures. I brought that out and also wrote to the NYSC to confirm if the certificate I have is original or authentic, or if I didn't carry out my compulsory 1-year service. The NYSC has written also to confirm that I did my service here, completed it in Benin, did my orientation in Benin, Kebbi. And obviously, I'll tell you one funny thing that happened this year. We're in court with the lawyers, the supposed lawyers, and when it was time for them to defend the accusation at court, they had to actually write to the court to withdraw all of the accusations, all of their petitions, and the case. And so the judge, in his wisdom, struck out the issue from the court. So you can see that it's all a political game
because
to deter me.
Yeah, because there are a lot of reports and a lot of concern about your educational status and perhaps how the dates of your attendance in the schools and the certificates you put forward are not in alignment with some of the certificates that you have put forward. And at that time, people were asking questions. The time that you were appointed these, the time you got into these, did you really go to school? If you did, how come your youth service is not in alignment and the dates is not? There are a lot of inconsistencies that were picked out in your documents.
There was no issues with the dates in my certificate. I graduated from secondary school. Let me run you through the memories and the time frame of every of my activities. I graduated from secondary school at the age of 16. I got my diploma at the age of 18. I got my first degree at the age of 2021. I finished my 21. I did my NYC 1 year, graduated 2022. I graduated at the age of 22, went into as a counselor, did my 3 years as a counselor, got admitted in. So there was nothing about my dates, nothing whatsoever. If I can, I could forward you soft copies of all of my certificates. There was no issue with the dates. There was no dates overlapping another. There was no change of date. It's all politics, and over time, I'm sure the security agents are aware of those behind this sponsor, or those behind this case, those who sponsored the whole accusations, blackmail, and smear campaign on my person. Like I said earlier, it's politics, but one thing they didn't understand was that I wasn't after the title. I was also after service, and that's all I've been doing since I graduated from school.
Because, those who will believe that if you had problems with academic qualification is on one hand, it might not have been tagged as a security lacking or failing security clearance, because the issue around your nomination was also largely because they say you failed security clearance.
That was the submission we learned the Senate President through to the floor of the House, the Senate, after screening, but that's not the true picture. I put it to the Nigerian Senate, I put it to the Nigerian populace. Please, if you have any issues with my certificate, it's online, it's on my website, it's everywhere. Please bring it up to me. I'm ready to face the law, and I would resign honorably from the position I'm sitting today if any of my certificate is found wanting.
What was the explanation the Senate President gave to you?
I've not met him after then. I only watched what he said on the floor of the House. But it's all politics, like I said, and I won't want to go into details till maybe the DSS or Mr. President deems it fit, to unravel or to unbundle what really transpired. But it's politics.
So you were beaten out of the game because of politics?
I wasn't beaten out of the game. I just think some people tried to stop me from serving the country on a higher platform. They didn't succeed because as the executive director of the bank, I can tell you that I'm doing 10 times more than some of the colleagues of mine who were confirmed as ministers. Why am I saying that? Is that my KPIs are clear, they're well defined. There's something that one would say, yes, I'm fulfilling my purpose in the bank. I ended 2023 financial year with a 10 billion naira profit. Remembering where we started from in the bank, we had about 8-point-something billion naira loss in 2016 when we resumed in 2017. So I feel fulfilled. So they didn't stop me, they just delayed. And I know that other higher callings, other higher platforms and opportunities will open to me in the future to serve, to show my worth. And I'll be vindicated in no short time, because the numbers are there, and the whole thing is speaking for itself. If you look at the reports from the courts, those who did the petitions and all of that, they don't have a case. One of the petitions, maybe you're not up to speed with it, was that they said I wasn't qualified to be the executive director of the Nigerian Export-Import Bank. I think that was by Sahara reporters. That's not true. The act of Nexen is clear. It's there in the Nexen Bank was established by an act of parliament. We are not a licensed bank. So we are not under the activities of BOFIA. Bank and other financial institution memos does not apply to the Nexen Bank. We're an export credit agency. So I wonder where the Senate lost that information from, because they created the act that established Nexen. And the act is clear. The president shall appoint a managing director and 2 executive director of sound mind. They didn't say you have to be 40, 50, or have a 55-year experience in the banking space. It's not applicable. And the truth about it is, when we say we need more young people to be in office, and we are, Nigeria is compelled to work with some archaic circulars or memos that dates back to the 90s or early 2000, we will not have young people hold such offices and lead our country. I was appointed by President Muhammadu Buhari at the age of 33 as the executive director of Nexen Bank. And I can tell you, between when I was appointed to date, I have, to the best of my ability, and the numbers speak for itself, the impact are there. I have moved non-oil export from where it was below 1% impact to a double-digit impact recorded by NBC. So I feel fulfilled.
I mean, let me take you up on this. One of the accusations against you is the code of conduct submission that you made. There was a letter written against you, a petition, and that you were alleged to have breached the code of conduct for public officers, and that you did not fully and properly declared your asset as at the time you were appointed into office.
Sheung, are you in Nigeria?
I am in Nigeria, 100%.
Immediately that fake circular came out from wherever, the code of conduct came out. And it's clear, I wonder why the DSS and the Nigerian police have not gone ahead to pick up those lawyers. The code of conduct came out to say it was fake. And it was glaring when you look at both letters and both signatures that one was obviously forced and was forged by whoever presented that. To the best of my ability and the best of my knowledge, I am not aware that the code of conduct, was investigating or ever investigated me. And they came out to say that. So it's all part of the, gimmicks and the blackmail strings that they pulled during my screening from as Minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Do you think that this was coming from your own state, Delta State?
It has a mix. Yes, it has a mix. I know the people, they know me. They see me. I enjoy them to see me. And I try to do the best I can. Because for me, I believe women should support women. But in this case, it was a woman behind the whole of it. As an insecure woman who felt pulling me down would give her more leverage to to throw our egos around or prove a point. But what they failed to understand, like I have said earlier, I'm a public servant. I'm not a politician. When I mean I'm not a politician, it's not that I play politics. I'm actively in politics, but I'm a social politician. Social in the sense that for me, it's not the title. For me, it's not about wanting to oppress the poor, wanting to, run governments from my house or get people to bow to me. No, it's all about service. It's all about making sure that the wrong in the country is corrected. It's all about, creating new steps, new standards for others behind me to follow. So, yes, they all came around. Deltans were involved, but was a group of, even those that I got to pay their loans, those who were part of the bad loans we met at Nexen. It was a pool of, should I say, haters of good Nigerians. Or let me rephrase, I'm trying to get the right word. It was corruption fighting back.
Against you?
It was corruption fighting back.
There are those who also believe that you politically stepped on toes in your state, and there are some political heavyweights that you are not able to meet, to have a middle ground with.
I don't think I stepped on any toes in politics directly, but it's just corruption fighting back. And corruption, people see corruption as just when monies are stolen and all of that. No. When ideas don't fit into what is the right norms, it breeds corruption. It drives, corrupt motives and all of that. So I see it as corruption fighting back. In Delta State, I believe I have the people in Delta behind me. I've always had that from my days as a councillor. Since I left the office as a councillor, I've always produced, and I put it on record, the member House of Representatives from my constituency. You need me to win the elections. And the old women, the young men, the young women in my constituency will tell you, they don't vote across because of the party, no.
So you don't think that...
They are voting for Stella.
Yeah, you don't think that you beat the finger that fed you politically?
I have never beaten the finger that fed me politically.
Do you understand what I'm talking about?
I understand what
politically,
you're saying.
Because some of your godfathers politically in Delta State feel that you are beating the finger that fed you politically.
So you are getting it wrong. I don't have a godfather. I am one politician that will boast to you that I don't have a godfather, because I have never relied on that in my drive. My father was a politician, and I got into politics, like I told you, to serve. It's a pact I have with God, not with any man. So I have never beat a finger that fed me. And whoever claims to have fed me, I would like the person to elaborate more on the feeding.
You don't think that people helped you into becoming councillor? People helped you in getting your appointment at the Nexen Bank?
Oh, I won't say people helped me, but in life, you have people who, in one way or the other, could or can be instrumental to your next level. But it doesn't mean they are your godfather. It doesn't mean that I don't respect people I've worked with. I've worked with quite a few of them in Delta, and I don't think I have any bad relationship with them.
You don't regret any of your political fallouts?
I don't have any fallout with anybody in politics. I can tell you that I do not have any. Not that I'm aware of. Maybe they have, because it's something that young politicians must note, and that was one of the reasons why I gave birth to the Progressive Young Women's Forum. The reason why that forum is still on today, and I hope to encourage more young people to join, is because of what I'm facing today. Once somebody has been instrumental to your next level, they believe that it has to be them all the way. Come off it. It's God has used them to a certain stage, and it's now God's will or God's plan to take you to the next level. It's all about what you do and how God determines your destiny. It's not a man's work to actually pull you up the ladder. No. They could create the ladder, but the ability to climb up the ladder requires your personal will, your discipline, your determination. And so most of the people fighting today, Stella Okotete, it's all out of envy. Let me tell you, I'm going to be 40 in April. At 40, who can, with all fulfillment, say you have played through the tiers of government, from the local government to the state to the federal government? Remember, at 36, I was the national woman leader of the party, APC. And I was still the executive director of the Nigerian Export-Import Bank. I'm sure in Nigeria, there's no woman that has held two of such, positions simultaneously and has made impact. So it's all envy, and I understand their fears. I understand their worries. I've even told those who care to listen, I don't have intention, because I notice some of the fears are about, 2027 and all of that. You know how some of these politicians think. I'm not vying for governor of Delta. I don't
want to be governor.
I don't have that. Why do you want me to go and pay people's debt? A whole lot of these states, they've mortgaged the states for years. I won't go in there to pay people's debt. I won't.
I thought you said you love service.
The service I want to serve is to correct the wrongs, not to pay people's debt. Is to see that things work. I'm more of a driver. I'm more of an administrator. I do not want to sit in a seat as a governor and I'm not compelled by politics to pick who would own this, who would do this, and who would do that. No, that's not the kind of work I'm called for. No, I'm called to give me a target. Give me a target.
But would you like to be a minister anyways?
If it's a will of God for me, I will.
If President Tinubu invites you, would you take it?
If he does, I will, because I'm part of the Renewed Hope agenda. From inception of the Renewed Hope.
Have you been able to speak with the president since?
I have.
Are you able to tell him your mind about the situation?
I have, and he knows clearly all that happened. He understands all that transpired.
Is he willing to draw you to the team again?
He doesn't see me any less. He doesn't see me out of his team. I'm part and parcel of the Renewed Hope.
Did he make
agenda.
any promise to you?
It's not about him making promises to me. It's about him. It's about the access. It's about the trust. It's about the confidence. He nominated me. I didn't lobby. I didn't pray about it. So you see, that's why I'm different. I didn't lobby, I didn't pray, I didn't push people, I didn't meet any godfather, I didn't meet any godmother or anybody to, he picked me in his own, how should I say, by his own choice. The president picks me by his own choice. And not because I'm Stella or I have a nice hair gear or something. No, he picked me based on my antecedents and the confidence he has on my ability to deliver. Give me any work to do.
With the benefit of hindsight,
yes, sir.
If there is something that you could have done to fix or for this not to have happened, what would that be?
Maybe I would have... what would I have done differently? Nothing that I can think.
Maybe play more politics.
No, I wouldn't have gotten in some muddy waters with them. Never. I am always one that stands out. And so, yes, picking me among the likes of Nasir El-Rufai, for me, it fulfills my being, because we stand out. Check our antecedents. We are people who, if you give targets to, we deliver and extra deliver. So I wouldn't have done anything differently. I'm telling you. Maybe what I would have done differently was actually to come out and call names of those behind it. Immediately it happened.
Would you be able to do that now?
I've forgiven them.
Who are those?
I've forgiven them.
Who are those?
I've forgiven them.
If
they're watching this, their conscience is telling them I'm the one. Yes, but I've forgiven them.
And you've moved on?
Oh, a long time ago, I've moved on.
But it was painful, isn't it?
It wasn't painful. I'll tell you why it wasn't painful. Because I didn't pray for it. It wasn't painful because I didn't lobby for it. It wasn't painful because I didn't spend money for it. It gave me more reasons to go back to my drawing board and give myself new targets on my current job and on my person to say, come, you know what? After this position, I'll get another one. And maybe someday I'll lead Nigeria.
As a president?
As a president.
So you have that vision?
That's
you want to be Nigeria's president someday?
I could be the first female president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
And what would you like to do if you get the opportunity?
I want to serve the people selflessly, ensure that the economy is working, ensure that Nigeria is a dream of what we all envisages it to be. I want to see that we have a Nigeria where we can all call home. Insecurity will be a thing of the past. Poverty will be reduced to its barest minimum. Jobs will be available for all Nigerians. Where social security will, top my priority agenda. And where we'll live up to the name, the giant of Africa.
Let me ask you, as the executive director of Nexen Bank, perhaps the worry on the minds of a lot of people is the state of the economy. And you said you're part of a renewed hope agenda. I mean, there are those who will say, what exactly is that hope that has not come to fruition just yet? In the 7 to 8 months of President Tinubu being in office, there's a lot of hardship in the land.
Okay, so I'll tell them, welcome to Nigeria. It's not a one-man's job. The president is doing the best he can do. We should be aware of the situation around the global economy. It was a fallout of COVID-19, the lockdown, the Ukraine-Russia war, and the current Israel war. All of these would hit hard on developing economies worldwide. So it's not a Nigeria thing. But why I said welcome to Nigeria is that you continue to have sabotage, just sabotaging the effort of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu because they are from their party, or because they don't like him, or because they share one misfeelings or misgivings that is not in alignment with his renewed hope agenda. I think the president is working, his team, they are all trying to see that they can get Nigeria off the current economic shocks we are having. But like I said, it's not a Nigerian thing. It's a global economic shock, especially developing countries. But I think it requires all Nigerians right now to fold their sleeves and get to work. Why am I saying that? We are an import-dependent country. We cannot continue to be depending on imported goods, imported items, and all of that. No,
it's killing our economy.
It has killed. Because when you're saying killing, it means that it has killed the economy.
Because you deal in exportation and you help credit facility for those.
We have an imbalanced trading system. You know that. The reports are there. We import more than we export. And so what we need to do right now is to reduce our imports. We must, as citizens, appreciate the made in Nigerian goods. We must patronize made in Nigerian goods. We must look inwardly and create more industries rather than churches, and spend more times, creating innovations, creating businesses than on social platforms, insulting people and dragging names and calling names. We just need to put our time into positive use that would help the economy.
What do you think that is Nigeria's competitive advantage?
Yeah.
For exportation to the rest of the world?
Agriculture.
How much are we doing?
We're not doing well. There's room for improvement. We can do a lot more than that. So we have two things we can actually do that can help our economy. We're about 250 million Nigerians, but the record tells you 200 or over 200. Because every day you have a minimum of 100 new children born per state in this country. So it's a growing population. And so what is expected from us is that we must not just export our agricultural produce, but we must add value to what we export. I'll give you a good example. Cocoa beans today is being sold for about $4,500 US. Imagine if Nigeria is producing over 1,000 or over a million cocoa beans, metric tons of cocoa beans, and is processing and exporting to the world. We'll be the hub for cocoa exports. But today, smaller countries that are not as big as we are, do not have the population or the landmarks that we have, are exporting more of cocoa beans than Nigeria. Ivory Coast, our neighbor Ghana, they're already doing in fact, Ivory Coast is doing over 1 million metric tons of cocoa exports. Most of the factories are going down to Ivory Coast now to set up processing plants. So imagine if we work on that. Then I'll give you another one, sesame. Sesame seed is also is in high demand. It's another commodity that we're exporting from Nigeria.
If Ethiopia is doing well in that.
Ethiopia is doing well, but Nigeria is also doing very well. I remember when we resumed, it was one of the products the bank took as a pilot product to improve our exports revenues and its seeds. So if we do over 1 million, let's do 3 million metric tons of sesame per year. At 2,300, I'm sure if you have the calculators, US dollars as export proceeds. Tell me why the I&E window won't be able to peg better rates for our foreign exchange pricing.
I mean, it looks to me that we need a revolution in driving local economy, in what is competitive advantageous for Nigeria, and what Nigeria can give to the rest of the world. From your experience in helping individuals and companies locally to be able to produce and export, if this government needs to get it right, immediately the low-hanging fruit, what would that be?
Export of agriculture and services.
What kind of produce?
Cocoa, cashew, sesame, soya, palm.
Someone said cassava.
Cassava, yes, we could do cassava, but the truth about it is that we need to now improve the variety of cassava we have. Mm-hmm. Because when you do a cassava review, you find out that our yield per hectare is not as much as that from Brazil or from India. So we could put so much effort, but the yields cannot give us that lead compared to other countries. But the 4 or 5 commodities I've mentioned today, if we're deliberate about it, if the private sector, because it has to be private sector driven, government can only create the enablers. But the private sectors must invest in the export of these commodities. With these 5 commodities, we can actually grow our non-oil basket, diversify the economy, have more FX coming in. And export of service is also another key area that we must look at. I see people laugh about Jackpot and say, oh, Jackpot is now a curse in Nigeria. Who says Jackpot is a curse in Nigeria? Jackpot is not a curse in Nigeria. The UK government alone raked in over 190 billion pounds from export of services. So what government needs to do is actually to, ring fence some of our programs and our policies to see that we can be, we can have Nigerians in diaspora, repatriate some of the proceeds.
The remittances in the millions of dollars to Nigeria.
It's in millions of dollars, but it can improve. We can capture better rates from them. I'll give you another country, the Philippines. They train you to export you out of Philippines. Go and check. They train them just to export them out. In fact, labor is their exports in the Philippines. Is one of their exports in the Philippines. So services can actually bring us more monies. And the beautiful thing about the digital world is that you can actually give that service without even leaving Nigeria. You have graphic designers that can, do whatever designs, plus AI and all of this thing that have come on board, can actually enhance the export of services from Nigeria. So with the number that we have, the population that we have, if we take 1/3 of that population to just provide services for the export space, you can imagine what we'd get back as our revenue from exports of services.
The president has a huge burden on his neck, and those of you who came up with the renewed hope agenda by now will be thinking, maybe you have overpromised and things are really difficult and Nigerians are maybe over-expectant also. If the president wants to get it right, and those who are criticizing those he has in his team already, what do you think the president should be thinking right now to be able to meet the expectations of Nigerians?
I don't think he's thinking, he's already doing. The president is trying to ensure that the economic team of his government is on top of the scheme of things, to see that policies are created that would help grow the economy. He's also looking at areas of engaging our young population rightly through various schemes of his governments. I'm sure I'm not speaking for him, not holding brief for him, but the Minister for Communication, is it ICT? Yeah, it's actually digital economy. Is actually doing a lot. If you look at the blue economy space also, there are a lot of opportunities that once they are activated, we'll start to see the benefits of the renewed up agenda. But the renewed up agenda requires everyone, like I said. I'll give you a good example. One of the other things that would help grow our economy is FDIs, foreign direct investment. We want the foreign direct investment. We want investors to come in and invest in our critical sectors, infrastructure, agriculture, communication, and all of that. But if we continue to share bad news, fake news, continue to share fake news, and we continue to give the country an image that will scare investors, is that the fault of the president?
But what I mean, you have a lot of foreign interest companies that already exited the country in the last few months.
They didn't exit. Like I told you, sir, there's the shock that's created an economic issue globally. And so you have big companies either reducing their production size, just to get away from the losses that I'm sure they got from as a fallout of COVID. So I won't say because one or two companies have left Nigeria that other businesses are not coming in. No, we have tons of companies that are on the line to come into Nigeria. What they just want is the enablements to come in with the right information that we're giving to them. Because if an investor is willing to bring $1 million today to your company, and he signed everything, and the next thing he's hearing that, somebody is sharing that, Fulani herdsmen is kidnapping people in Ekiti, he won't come in. He'll be scared. Whereas that story sometimes are either blown out of proportion. I agree with you, there is insecurity everywhere in the world. Nigeria is not an exception. And I know government is working hard to curb all of these menace and issues we have with insecurity. But we must try as much as possible to balance our stories. We must try as much as possible to create an image of Nigeria that would attract investors, give our own children comfort to believe in the country. And also, I think we also must be good citizens of the country to actually get the country to where we expect it to be. Because if we keep the bad news, spreading the bad news, we keep, disobeying simple laws, others that we should, adhere to strictly, and we're ignoring them and say, oh, Nigeria is bad. You're using your own mouth to say Nigeria is bad. Then the next day you're online asking somebody to give you money. How would the person give you money from a bad country? We must change that image. We must create the right image that we want, that would attract investment and will give our country a good image for investors.
Maybe a good way to anchor is to ask you, because a lot of people do not have an idea of what goes on in the Nexen Bank. They don't even know how to access. They don't even know the opportunities that are there. Because it's an unconventional bank, it's not a commercial bank. There are a lot of people who are wondering, who are those that can benefit? Is it just for companies? Is it just for that? Who are those for Nigerians who are entrepreneurial in their tendencies? What does the Nexen Bank stand for in terms of helping people, in terms of helping investment? Who are those that you're looking at helping?
Okay, I want to correct that notion. A lot of people do not know what Nexen Bank is all about. Why? Because if they don't know, it's because they refuse to know. We have a working website that is active. It's been on, in fact, for the last 7 years I've been in the bank, we've never had a downtime on our website. We have very active social media pages that, creates a lot of content to tell Nigerians and those in diaspora what the Nexen Bank is all about. We also have programs that we do from time to time. We have export enlightenment campaigns that have led through the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. We have regional offices. The regional office members, my team members, are also, reaching out through chambers of commerce, trade associations, and all of that. So if you're a serious businessman in Nigeria, I'm sure you already know what Nexen Bank is. But let me believe that we still have some more people we need to re-echo what the bank is all about. Nigerian Export Import Bank is an export credit agency. Our sole role is to provide export guarantee and insurance instruments, as well as direct funding to exporters to export goods and services from Nigeria in line with the rules, in line with best practices. What that means is that we cannot support or we cannot fund illegality, informal export, informal trade, or goods in the Prohibition Act. So with all of these, we have actually played across 4 cardinal product lines, which we call key sectors: manufacturing, agriculture, solid minerals and services. We call it the mass agenda. The reason for this is that we believe that when you add value to our exportable commodities or our products, you can actually get better earnings and create more jobs for the people, because that's the core mandate of the bank also. Our mandate is to increase our foreign earnings and create jobs for Nigerians. So we are not we are expected to declare profit, but profit is not what drives us, it's the impact. And what's the impact? If we can create more jobs for Nigerians through export of all of these sectorial products I've mentioned, we'll have a better Nigeria. We'll diversify our non-oil basket. And we have various products that we're using to drive our mass agenda. One is the Export Development Facility. It's called the EDF. It's to develop critical export products in states and local government. So with this, we have the State Export Development Fund, which is expected to bet at least 1 exportable product per state. Imagine if we have 37 states, and I'm sure if we go by the numbers, some of these states have similar terrain and can produce similar commodities. So let's believe that we have about 17 or 18 export commodities right now that we have listed to the states. Pick where you have your comparative advantage. get your community, your business community involved, and Nexen Bank will be willing to fund their exports. We also provide financial advisory services, market matchmaking. We facilitate trade activities between Nigeria and other countries. For example, yesterday I got a response from one of the countries in Europe. They are in request for cocoa beans from Nigeria. With that information at my disposal, what did I do? I had to just quickly send to my team members in Akure, because we have an office in Akure, it's a regional office in the southwest, where you have a lot of cocoa players. And okay, this is the specification. Which of the companies have the ability to provide this quantity every 3 months to these promoters? These are their requirements and all that. And I'm sure before the end of today or tomorrow, I should have somebody already indicating their interest. So we do that market matchmaking. We also ensure that we build capacity around the exports space. When I say capacity, you need to know the regiments that are required for exports, because there's nothing that is easy. There are lots of things that you need to know around, product specification, product inspection, product packaging, and the export terrain itself. So we have a platform right now. It's called the Nexen Academy. It's a Nigerian Exports Academy, the first in Africa, where we try to build capacity of Nigerians along the total export value chain. Solid minerals is where we also have huge comparative advantage as a nation. We still have some minerals that are untapped. The sector is less active right now because it requires huge investment. And so some of the things we can do around exports of solid minerals is limited by, in quotes, the news stories that the news fake stories or the scare that we share. Because I was with a customer yesterday, and they needed mica. It's a solid mineral that is in high demand right now around the world, and it's found around the Nasarawa, Abuja, Kogi, as this north central, predominantly north central Nigeria. And I told him, I said, "Oh, that's good. You can." He said, "No, I would want to just buy from artisan miners." I said, "Why? You can own your." He said, "No, the insecurity." I said, "Sir, no. Nasarawa is not insecure. Abuja here, we are safe. Kogi is safe." I was able to convince him, and I'm sure I'll take the conversation much further to get him to come in here to invest. He's coming all the way from India. Imagine if that business company comes into Nigeria for the solid minerals. It will actually, play a key role, not just for job creation, but that. So this is what we do at Nexen. We finance export. We support export. The import in Nexen is import of equipment, import of machineries for export. What do I mean? You need to get cocoa to cocoa powder. We don't have the technology, so we can fund the import of that technology and the equipment into Nigeria for the process of export-oriented goods.
Ms. Stella Okotete, the Executive Director at the Nigerian Export-Import Bank, Nexen Bank. Thanks so much indeed for your time too.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate it.
God bless you.
Thank you for being part of this episode of Mycon Podcast. We've looked closely into the recent political journey of Ms. Stella Okotete and may still be left with this question: where lies our fate in the grand scheme of things? It is obvious that the path to political prominence is riddled with challenges and scrutiny. Whether it's facing questions about one's past or navigating the ever-changing political landscape, one thing remains clear: integrity and accountability are paramount. Regardless of your aspirations in politics, remember to uphold the principles of lawfulness, adhere to the ethical standards, and remain accountable to your community and society as a whole. I'm Sean Kimale, and it's been a pleasure, as always, guiding you through these discussions. Thank you for joining us, and goodbye for now.
Thank you for joining us on this edition of Mycon Podcast with Seun Okimbaloi. Mycon Podcast for the independent mind.